Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2024 Senior Project Formal Announcement Ceremony. My name is Janine Fogler, and along with Mr. Nick DeLeo, we are the Senior Project team leaders. A special welcome to administration, Board of Education members, colleagues, parents, mentors, and students who have taken the time out to share this special occasion. To begin our ceremony, please welcome teacher Noreen Hansen and our Meister singers to sing the national anthem. Will everyone please rise? Please welcome to the stage our principal, Mrs. Georgiana Diopoulos, up to the podium for a few words.
Thank you. Esteemed faculty, families, honored guests, and most importantly, our remarkable Senior Project students. We're so proud of you. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2024 Senior Project launch. It is truly an honor to stand before you today as we learn about the incredible endeavors our Senior Project students will embark upon this year. This marks the beginning of a transformative chapter in their lives, in the lives of our seniors who have chosen to take on the challenge of Senior Project. We are thrilled to celebrate this significant moment with all of you. Senior Project is a true celebration of the unique talents, passions, and aspirations that each of you, our students, brings to the table. As we gather here, there is a palpable sense of anticipation and excitement. It's been going on in the building all day. Senior Project stands as a testament to the growth, both academically and personally, that our students have achieved during their time with us. It's an opportunity for them to apply the knowledge they have gained in the classroom to real-world challenges, and in doing so, leaving a lasting impact. To our students, to my kids, I want to express my sincere admiration for your commitment, your courage, and your enthusiasm. Your journey is about to take a new and exciting turn, and we are confident that the skills and experiences you gain through this process will serve as a foundation for your endeavors. Trust me, when you're done with this process, you will know in your heart that you can accomplish anything. To our faculty and staff, particularly Mrs. Fogler, Mr. DeLeo, and our mentors, thank you for your unwavering support and guidance. Your mentorship is invaluable, and we are deeply grateful for the dedication and care you bring to shaping the next generation of leaders and innovators. Thank you. As we officially launch Senior Project, let us embrace the spirit of our Portrait of a Graduate through collaboration, curiosity, and creativity. Together, we will witness the fruition of ideas, the overcoming of challenges, and the emergence of projects that reflect the true essence of our students' capabilities. So thank you for being a part of this momentous occasion. Here's to a season filled with discovery, growth, and accomplishment. Best of luck to you and your families, and may the excitement of this journey propel all of you forward.
Senior Project is back in full swing. It is important that we recognize what these 23 students sitting here before us are about to embark on. 19 years ago, a group of us worked to bring this nationally accredited senior project program to Warwick Valley High School. We traveled to visit other districts who were already using a senior project program, but we knew we could do better. A team of teachers and administrators set out to create a program that would keep students engaged their entire senior year, would meet the New York State Regents requirements, and would challenge them to push beyond their comfort zone and discover their passions. The program requires that students choose a topic that their project will be based on, do the required research, secure a mentor in the field that they are studying, write a collegiate-level paper, create a portfolio, and then at the end of the year present their work to a panel of 5 to 7 judges. Who would have thought 19 years ago that this program would take off and be so popular? We are so proud of what we have created here at Warwick Valley High School. Senior Project is the epitome of our district's portrait of a graduate. It requires collaboration, communication, innovation, resiliency, and makes our students lifelong learners. Because the students are choosing their own topics, they own it, and they become independent learners. Senior Project gives students the tools needed to begin their college journey or a job right out of high school. It emphasizes the ability to speak in public, network, and make connections with others in their future fields. Mr. DeLeo and I have worked on this program for the past 19 years. We can both say this has been the most rewarding part of our careers. This is more than a project, it is life-altering, and we are so happy to be part of it. Please welcome my partner in crime up to the podium, Mr. Nick DeLeo.
Good afternoon. It's so great to see everybody here again. It is my pleasure to introduce today's keynote speaker, Mr. Mark Frankel. Mark began his career in music studying drums with the late Gary Chester. And after graduating from NYU with a degree in music technology, he became the head recording engineer for New York City's Knitting Factory at the famed Leonard Street location. In addition to his work as an audio engineer, he also taught advanced audio recording techniques at NYU. But then, 20 years later, his career took an unexpected turn back to drumming, mixed with a newfound passion, acting. Mark currently performs as a Blue Man at Blue Man Group's Astor Place Theater in New York City. And his career with Blue Man has taken him to theaters, arenas, and stadiums on, check it out, 4 continents, performing for over 1 million people. Credits with Blue Man Group include the recorded concert performance, Blue Man Group, How to Be a Megastar Live, NBC's Best Time Ever with Neil Patrick Harris, and the Blue Man Group Album 3. And most bizarrely, Mark was an answer on the hit game show Jeopardy! And you know you've made it in the world when you are on Jeopardy! And in his spare time, Mark works on restoring his very old house in Cornwall-on-Hudson with his partner, Ananya, and their beautiful daughter, Lyra. And a final fun fact, how did we get Mark to speak at our ceremony? He and math teacher, Mr. Mark, went to nursery school together. Warwick Valley High School family, it is my great pleasure to introduce our 2024 keynote speaker. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Mark Frankel.
Hello. Just want to say first how honored I am to have been invited to speak to you. And, you know, he stole my thunder. It all goes back to me and Mr. Mark in nursery school together a long, long time ago. But I did want to talk a little bit about, you know, why I'm up here in terms of how it led to me becoming a blue man, which has been a really remarkable experience, to say the least. But it really did start with passion and identifying that passion. In my case, it was the drums. So actually thinking back to when I was with, I'll call him Ray. Is it okay to call him Ray? I was with Ray in nursery school, and I was already playing the drums. I started when I was about 4 years old. I don't recall the decision to play the drums. I just remember that I was really attracted to the sound of the cymbals and the feel of the drums. So there I was playing drums. So I was lucky in that sense that I had identified that passion very early. But I also like to tinker, and I would take apart the telephone, and I would, try to figure out how the radio worked. And my father would call me fingers, because I would destroy everything and not put it back together again. So I had this passion for the drums, but I also had this interest in audio. So that led me towards trying to find a way to kind of combine those two things. So I went to New York University, and I studied music technology, which is sort of an even split between sort of performance, playing the drums, and studying audio recording. And I really, really took to it. And after I graduated, within short order, I was interning at the Knitting Factory, which Mr. DeLeo mentioned. The Knitting Factory, at the time, was this sort of epicenter of the downtown music scene. And I was so lucky to be there. And I was just, mixing in one of the smaller rooms. I was mixing the live audio for one of the smaller rooms. And it's kind of a complicated story, but basically the manager of the club came up to me with a set of keys and said, hey, the head engineer is leaving and a new one's coming in, but there's going to be about a 3 or 4 or 5 month gap. You're in charge of the audio. You want to be in charge of the whole club? And I was only about 22 years old. Now in my heart, you have to be insane. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've only just started in this business. Why would you do this? Why would you give it to me? But what came out was, yeah, totally. What came out was fake it. So basically, the first thing was passion. The second thing was have an insanely sort of wild notion of just saying yes, even if you're not prepared. I said, just go deep and stay afloat, because it's kind of corny, but when you're in the ocean, it doesn't matter if the bottom of the ocean is 10 feet below you or 5,000 feet. Either way, you can't touch it with your feet, and you just got to tread. So I said, okay. And within about a month of me saying yes, Lou Reed, if you know who Lou Reed was coming to perform at the club, and I had to organize the whole thing. I had to organize all of the technical aspects of it. And I was basically a child, and I was totally learning on the fly. But the sense of staying on my treading water was really sort of working for me. And I was saying, I'm just faking it, and everyone believes I can do this. And it was a good feeling, and it was a really good learning experience for me to keep saying, oh, say yes, that works. I'll kind of jump ahead into my history with Blue Man, but the other thing I would say is, and it's a little bit surprising, is one of the best decisions I made in my life was quitting. And you'd think, under these circumstances, that's not the greatest lesson to sort of hand out to you all, but it'll make sense. Actually, I quit twice. Those were the two best decisions I made in my life, was quitting twice. The first time I quit was I was working at the Knitting Factory, and I was making a sort of a meager living. Working as an audio engineer isn't terribly lucrative. I was also teaching audio engineering at NYU. I was another moment where I had no business being a teacher at a university, but I just said, sure, and I just jumped in, and it seemed to work. And then I decided I needed to make a little more money. I wanted to be able to, afford rent. So I took a job as a salesperson for an audio manufacturer. And it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And I'm not knocking that profession in any way, shape, or form, but I was still pretty young, and I just took this job, and I wasn't happy. I did it. I started making, a nice living, and that was great, and I was learning some things and understanding how a different industry worked. But I wasn't really happy, and I wasn't being true to myself about it. And I stayed for a few years, and I just announced to myself, I'm going to quit. I'm just going to quit. This isn't for me, and I know this isn't for me. And this ties into this idea of, you might hear occasionally, only get one shot. You only get one shot at this thing. You only get one shot at life. It's not true at all. That's not true at all. You get many, many chances at life. Lots of tries. As long as you're dedicated and if you're a reliable person and you're passionate and you go in all the way, you'll get other chances. I didn't know that at the time when I decided to quit, but it was true. I was going to get another chance. I was going to get many more chances. But I was 29 years old, and I cold quit this company. And I remember my father thought I was insane. Nobody understood what I was up to. I said, I'm going to give myself a year to re-up on my honoring of my passion of being a drummer and maybe somehow managing to make that into a living or being an audio engineer. Going back to that, I didn't feel like selling microphones was going to be the thing for me. So here I am in that year. And I'm sort of wandering around just trying to figure it out. And I get invited to a party at Blue Man Group's production studio in the East Village. Now, how that happened is because when you're in the industry, you get invited to all these sort of industry events, sort of schmooze events, and I almost didn't go. The only reason I went is because as a sales rep for Sennheiser Microphones, who I was working for, I went to this performance, to this recording studio to sort of show off some new microphones to the audio engineers for Blue Man Group, that they were recording a new album. And I was really interested to go, so I went. I tried to sell them some mics, and that was a year before I got invited. Now, if you can follow the timeline, a year before I got invited to go there for a party that was unrelated to my work as an audio engineer. I had quit, I was out, I was just trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, and I get invited to this party, and I almost didn't go. But I said, oh no, I've been there before. I went there as an audio rep, and I should go and just see what this party is all about. So what it was a CD release of their second album, which actually it was the reason why I was there in the first place, selling the microphones. And I'm just walking around this party and sort of hearing conversations, but I am starting to feel like this place is really cool. I didn't see it in this light before. Maybe because it was a festive atmosphere, it was a party atmosphere. And they left out all these instruments, tubes, and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, playing the little tubes and looking around and having a lot of fun. And I happened to overhear right over my shoulder, oh yeah, something like this. Oh, we're always looking for new Blue Men. And my spine stiffened, and I said, what? I gotta talk to this guy. So I turned around and I found him and I said, hey, I couldn't help but overhear. You said you're always looking for new Blue Men. And he said, yeah. And I said, I don't understand. I thought it was 3 guys, and there's other guys? He says, oh yeah, the 3 guys started it, but then it's now a whole cast of people because they're all sort of understudies for the original 3 guys. And I said, what does it take to be a Blue Man? I don't know anything about it. I had never seen the show. And he said, well, you know something? You look right. And I was like, no, I just want to know about it. I don't want to be a Blue Man. I just want to know about the show. And he's like, do me a favor, just turn around. I said, it is a say yes moment. I said, oh, okay. So I just did a little 360 for him. And he's like, you have the right vibe. And I was like, I mean, like, to be a Blue Man? He said, yes. And I go, it's funny. I play the drums. He said, come on, you got to be kidding me. I said, no, I do. I'm very passionate about it. I've played the drums my whole life. He said, give me your headshot and resume. And I said, okay. I didn't have a headshot or resume. The only resume I had was all this audio work. So I cobbled something together, again, saying yes, faking it till I made it. This is something that we have no control over, but I happen to have been born into a family of performers. I am I believe the 4th generation performer. My mother had a long career on Broadway. She was in 11 Broadway shows during the 60s. My sister had a long Broadway career. My father, who was a New York City police officer, moonlighted as an extra on a lot of television shows. So I was sort of born in this environment. In fact, in Rockland County, where I grew up, my mother has a dance studio there called Coupe Dance Studio. It's been running for 50 years, and I grew up in that environment. So that's all to say that I kind of had a little bit of a sort of insight into what it was to have a life as a performer. Anyway, I called my sister immediately, who is currently on Broadway, and I said, they're going to call me in for an audition. I don't know what to do. So she said, don't worry, I know a Blue Man, and she got me to introduce me to a Blue Man, and I'm going to try and move this along. Anyway, He invited me over to his apartment, and he said, okay, we're going to pretend to be Blue Men. And I had just seen the show, and I didn't know anything about it, but I'm, again, saying yes. So I'm walking around this guy's apartment. We're like looking at objects, silently looking at each other, putting them back down. I have no idea what's going on. And he said, you did great. I'll see you at the audition. So I go and do the audition. I walk in. They said, this is just one example of what they told me to do. They said, imagine that you're like a little kid, and you walk onto a playground, and you're alone, and you don't know anyone, and this group of older kids come over, and they look a little intimidating. Now, imagine that you're just standing there on the playground looking at them and be in that moment. And what I knew of myself is just to be, not to pretend to be a little child, but to really just feel what it was like to be in that moment. So I did that. And they said, good, keep going. Now, imagine that in that group you see like your sister's best friend, and you recognize them, and they're an ally. Now have that rollover moment of recognizing them. So I did that. And they said, good, that was great. That was literally, it was about 5 minutes, and that was it. They said, that was great, thank you. And I left. I said, okay, that was fun. That's the end of that. I'll never do that again. Well, bring, the phone rings, and they want me to come back and do it again. And I said, okay, well, that second time is surely where this is going to end. So I come back again a few weeks later, and now I have to perform with another performer, and we sort of do things together. We're sort of playing off each other. And similar sort of circumstances, pretend you're a little child, or pretend you're very thirsty in a desert and there's a cup of water far away, all silently, all using sort of this portion of your face. And I did that, and then I left, and I said, that was really fun, and that's that. And so it really was that. I didn't get any call back, and weeks had passed. And that's when I decided to tell my mom, who had this long Broadway career. I'd only told my sister, and she was sworn to secrecy, and I said, I got to tell you, I got this little thing. I've been auditioning for Blue Man Group. I didn't get it. I went to 2 auditions. They didn't call me back, but it was a lot of fun, and I just thought you'd like to know. I didn't want to tell you when I was doing this. I didn't want you to get, I didn't want any additional pressure. And she said, how do you know you didn't get it? And I said, they just didn't call back. That's all I know. She goes, I would reach out to them. You never know. And I said, really? You think? And she said, yeah, I said, I don't want to be obnoxious. She said, no, just reach out to them and you never know. I called up. I said, hey, I was just curious. I really liked the audition. It felt good, but I was curious why I didn't call back. Is there anything I could do to maybe try again next time? She said, what are you talking about? You're supposed to come in for the final audition next week. And I said, oh, okay. I said, no one called me. And so if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be standing in front of you talking. So I might have been talking about something else, but I wouldn't be talking about Blue Man. So I go in, and now when I walk in on this 3rd audition, there's a room full of guys that look exactly like me. Tall, they all have drumsticks, everyone's playing on surfaces. And now is the only time where I start to feel the raising of the stakes. Before I was just sort of not taking it seriously because it was all a lark. It was never going to happen. But now suddenly it seems like the stakes are starting to go up. And here it is, back to faking it till I make it. I was like, oh, I better fake it now. And I overhear conversations. One guy said, oh, the flight in from Chicago was rough. Or, oh, what a long flight from LA. And I go, you got flown in for this? And they said, yeah, this is the big audition. And I had no idea all of this was happening. I had no idea and when I went that day, when I took the subway in from Brooklyn, I had no idea of the stakes. So I go and I start doing this big audition, and there are more of these scenarios. And then at the end, they said, okay, thank you very much, and we'll call you if we're going to keep you. And it was 15 guys. Bang, the next day, there's just 6 of us. And now I'm like, I keep passing through these portals, and I keep going, and I can't believe this is happening. Oh my God, what's happening? And so then now it's down to 6 people, and they said, and you're all going to get in the makeup now. And my head started to spin. How is all this happening? I was in a completely different place. And so then I got in the makeup, and then I looked in the mirror. And that was the first time I had seen myself as a Blue Man, as that character that I'd seen on TV and on stage, and was really growing to love. And that's when it started to click. I said, oh, I think I was meant to do this, as cheesy as that might sound, but it really did feel that way. And I was almost sure of it, that this was right. And sure enough, when I finished the audition, they said, we'd like you to start training. And talk about a head spin. And then I started training, and that was where I made the first mistake is that I told everybody I knew, I'm gonna be a Blue Man. And I didn't realize that When you get invited into training, that's only the first step. You have to go through 2 months of training, and then they got to watch you do shows, and you could get cut at any time, people do often get cut. It's about 50%. 50% of the people that get into training get cut. And I had no idea, so I told everybody, and the whole dance studio, everyone knew. Well, I was terrible when I first started, as most Blue Men are, but I was especially terrible because it was the first time in this whole journey that I'm telling you about where I didn't believe I could do it. I wasn't faking it until I made it. I got overwhelmed by self-doubt, as could be expected because of the stakes. You know, right now I'm standing in front of you. I was quite nervous getting in front of you now. Imagine a room full of people that are going to see this iconic character, and you've never done it before, and you got to get up there and do this thing. It was incredibly nerve-wracking, overwhelmingly horrifying and scary. And I let that get to me. You know, if you've ever seen The Never-Ending Story, I was in the swamps of sadness, and they were pulling me under. And I really did let it overtake me. And so that was actually making me fail. And, you know, the people who were training me were saying, "Oh, you were so good in the training, what happened?" And the one thing I knew is don't say that you're afraid. Don't say that you don't believe you can do it. Don't say that. Just say, "Oh, I just had a bad day," or "I'm not feeling well." I would make it up. Just don't let him in on it. And there was one day where I had a conversation with a friend, and they said, like, "Just let it go. Who cares? If you don't do it, you don't do it. You're going to have a good life anyway. Everything's going to be all right." And I just did one show. I finally had I just let it go. Honestly, as cheesy as that might sound, I just let it go. And I said, "I don't know if I can do this or not, but I'm just going to do it, and it's okay. Everything's fine." And that was the show where they said, "Yeah," and I got hired. And that was 20 years ago. And it was an incredible experience. You know, as Mr. DeLeo said in the beginning, it took me all around the world. I ticked off a lot of boxes that I'd always want to tick. You know, I performed at Madison Square Garden, and I performed at the Hollywood Bowl, and I performed on live television, and I met the greatest people and had the greatest experiences. I met my partner there. She was the head of the audio department, and my daughter is a result of me working at Blue Man. And I mentioned, and I'm going to wrap up, but I'd mentioned that there was a second quitting. You may or may not know, if you saw the news, that Blue Man Group, unfortunately, on February 2nd, will close in New York City. It had been running for 33 years. Now, a few years back, pre-COVID, I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I saw that this was coming. And I took really what would be much braver than the first time when I quit the sales position at Sennheiser. That was, that was brave, but this was way different. I was letting go of not just a job, but my entire sense of self and persona was built around being a Blue Man. You know, I would go to parties and not know anybody and just hold this little pearl, this little beautiful little thing in my pocket that I could bring out if I wanted to. I could just stand, I could be a wallflower and not have to worry about talking to anybody, because if anyone wanted to engage with me, and this was, again, I'm speaking from ego, I'm being honest, this is an egotistical position that I was holding, but I would say, I can always just mention I'll be a Blue Man, and almost certainly we'll have an interesting conversation. They'll be interested and impressed. So I had this thing in my pocket, but I was deciding to let it go. I was deciding to quit. So right before COVID, I had started to get it in my head. I said, I think it's time. And then we closed for COVID for a year and a half, and I went back, and I knew when I went back after we closed, I said, no, this is it, I gotta quit. And I did. And I went into a totally different career again, another screeching halt left turn. I work in an environment like this now. I am the AV manager for a private school in Manhattan. And I'm actually thrilled to do it. I have the time of my life there. And they get a kick out of the fact that, like, the guy pushing the TV down the hallway has this alter ego. He goes and performs at night. I've spoken at the school about this. I have some kind of interesting status, as sort of an unheard of status as an AV guy who used to do this thing. But I just wanted to illuminate how unexpected it can all be. But the one driving force of many driving forces, but the real big one was having a real deep passion just to say yes, and just to say, okay, next step, yes, let's go. That's about it. That's my story. But I really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I'll hang out. If you have any questions you want to ask me, I'm happy to answer. Hopefully I hit it all. Thank you very much.
About another round of applause for Mark Frankel, everyone. Thank you so much, Mark. It's awesome. It is now my great honor to introduce to you, we've been together since September, but formally introduce to you this year's cohort. At this point, I would like period 4 to rise, please, and meet me on stage.
Good afternoon. My name is Sofia Del Valle. For my project, I shall set up informational flyers and resources around my dance studio about mental health and body positivity. With this, I will also set up a social media page sharing inspirational quotes and stories for the dancers. For my mentor for my project is Amanda Ellison, who has been a licensed mental health therapist for 10 years, as well as being a probation officer for Orange County. For my paper, I will argue the negative effects social media has on dancers' mental well-being. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bailey Fry. For my project, I will plan and host a golf outing fundraiser to benefit the nonprofit organization Tunnel to Towers. My mentors for my project are RJ Martucci, CPA partner with PKF O'Connor Davies, and Erin Fry, the owner of Emerald Point Restaurant and Marina in Greenwood Lake. For my paper, I will argue the necessity for fundraising in today's society to improve the mental health of the beneficiaries. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Benjamin Guyver. For my project, I will be filming, editing, and publishing a documentary about the sacrifices and struggles of our firefighters. My mentor for my project is Daniel Sacconi, a teacher here at Warwick Valley High School for studio production, Video 1 and Video 2. For my paper, I will argue that firefighters deserve more benefits and more recognition. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlotte Gillen. For my project, I will learn effective styles of lesson planning to teach educational STEM workshops for elementary students. My mentors for my project are Kevin Wilson, owner of Warwick Millworks, and Patrick Reiser, Warwick Valley High School's technology teacher. For my paper, I will argue introducing STEM to students at young ages will provide more effective thinking in the future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Gomez. In my senior project, I will tune, refine, and repair various instruments. My mentor is Jim Coleman, an instrument mechanic of 45 years at the Music Center in Monroe. For my paper, I will argue that music is an essential tool in the development of adolescents in school. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Carol Andrew, and for my project, I will create a documentary comparing and connecting two different generations of seniors. My mentor for my project is Miss Emily Lemp, a graphic designer and expert in Adobe Creative Cloud programs. For my paper, I will argue that technology has negatively impacted the social skills of younger generations compared to older generations. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Deandra Mateo. For my senior project, I will create a documentary highlighting the important and critical roles of nurses. My mentor, Yasmin Yilmaz, will be assisting me in filming and producing this documentary. She is an expert in film production and is nominated for an Emmy Award. For my paper, I will argue that nurses should be paid equivalent to doctors. Thank you.
Who's coming in the driveway? Good afternoon. My name is Talia Patempa. For my project, I will learn how to sew and design my own clothing line in the patchwork style, which uses different fabrics to create one uniform piece. My mentor for my project is Mrs. Caroline DeMarmels, a local sewing instructor. For my paper, I will argue the harmful impacts of fast fashion on individuals and the environment. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mia Pujols. For my project, I will create an informative multilingual brochure to ensure patients have the necessary resources and understanding to aid in their recovery. My mentor for my project is Dr. Anthony Mazzola, Assistant Professor in the Department of Rehabilitation and Human Performance at Mount Sinai. For my paper, I will argue how physical activity is a crucial role for rebuilding and maintaining the body. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Johanna Robles. For my project, I will write and illustrate my own graphic novel. My mentor for my project is Anna Penny, an art educator at Warwick Valley High School. For my paper, I will argue that art pieces should be judged on effort and progress, not by the final result. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Seamus Stratton. For my project, I will be designing and forging knives and swords from basic materials. The person mentoring me for this project is Jim Levitt, a blacksmith from Pine Bush. And for my paper, I will argue that mass-produced blades have negative qualities that are not present in blades made by craftsmen. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Strickland. For my project, I will be designing and building my very own electric guitar from the ground up. Sadly, my mentor is still pending at the moment. For my paper, I will argue that the process of musical composition should be considered a science as well as an art. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Hilary Saroon. For my project, I will learn how to style bridal and event hairstyles. My mentor for my project is Miss Kathleen Botello, cosmetology teacher at Warwick Valley High School. For my paper, I will argue that social media is constantly shifting the standard of what is considered beauty. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like Period 9 to rise and join me on the stage.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Gabriela Barquero. For my project, I will design and construct a children's playhouse. My mentor for my project is Kevin Wilson, a former Warwick Valley High School teacher, now a local construction business owner. For my paper, I will argue that children's play is more beneficial to their mental and physical health rather than electronics. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Madison Breen. For my project, I will be learning how to professionally decorate baked goods. My mentor for my project is Hilda Berg, a professional baker. For my research paper, I will be arguing that people should take up the hobby of baking to improve their physical health once they reach the age of 65 or older. Thank you.
My name is Hivan Cardi. For my project, I will produce and record a studio-level album filled with several different genres, building variety in my project. My mentor for my project is Emmy Award-winning artist Robert Agnello, who has written music for several different TV shows. For my paper, I will argue how important music is, how it affects us, and that it is not just noise, but another form of art. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dexter Hudspeth. For my senior project, I will learn how to accurately portray the human form. This means drawing faces, expressions, poses, and proportions. My mentor for my project is Fruity Botello, a longtime artist who's worked at Macy's Parade Studios for over 2 decades. For my paper, I will argue that AI art is not art and instead a detriment to artists and their fields as a whole. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Christian Katsabanis. For my project, I will become proficient in reading, writing, listening, and speaking the Greek language. My mentor is Panayota Manalopoulou. She is an English teacher from Kalamata, Greece. For my paper, I will argue why Greek is the most influential language in the Western Hemisphere. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessie Lasher. For my project, I will write, illustrate, and publish a bilingual children's book about grieving. My mentors for my project are Marilyn Brozicki, Warwick Valley High School English teacher, Megan Murphy, Warwick Valley High School Spanish teacher, and Sharon Balpena, licensed clinical social worker. For my paper, I will argue that the curriculum in elementary schools should include lessons on grieving. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Caden Parsons. For my project, I will write, illustrate, and publish a children's book teaching manners to young kids. For my mentor for my project is Stacy Brown, a speech therapist at Sanfordville Elementary School. For my paper, I will argue that young children should have no excessive screen time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Holly Perda. For my project, I will host a 5K walk-or-run event to fundraise money for Warwick Cares. My mentor for my project is Colleen Amidanu, a guidance counselor at Warwick Valley High School. For my paper, I will argue that high school students should exercise more throughout the day to help reduce anxiety. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sophia Santagato, or good afternoon, my name is Sophia Santagato. For my project, I'll digitally illustrate, create, and publish a children's book focusing on children with anxiety. One of my mentors is Tamara Scotto, our school psychologist, and my other mentor is Danielle DeBella, a Warwick Valley High School English teacher. For my paper, I will argue that children with anxiety have a disadvantage to receiving help from teachers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Denery Simon. For my senior project, I will write and illustrate a set of 50 informational cards on a variety of the world's poisonous plants. My mentors for this project are, for graphic design, Aurora Robson, a multimedia artist, and for the science behind the plants and their poisons, Oliver Kellhammer, a professor at Parsons and an ecologist. For my paper, I will argue that the usage of animal testing in the field of toxicology should no longer be used, as it is unethical and inaccurate. Thank you for your support.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlie Tucker. For my project, I will learn 5 different cake decorating techniques, including fondant work, piping skills, spatula icing, hand painting, and glazing. For my mentor is Casey Posadas, the CTEC culinary instructor. For my paper, I will argue single-use plastic used for cake decorating negatively impacts the environment. Thank you.
Once again, a round of applause for our 2024-2025 Senior Project cohort.
Thank you for joining us today. I want to offer a special thank you to our colleagues. Over 10 teachers in our district have agreed to be mentors to our students this year. We recognize your dedication and support for our program and the students, and we are so proud to be part of you. Students, recruitment for next year's Senior Project Group is happening on January 10th. We hope you have been excited by what you've seen and joined the Senior Project program. Thank you, Mr. Mark Frankel, for being our speaker today. Enjoy. Thank you. Senior Project kids, we need you on stage for your picture.